Hi, welcome to my exclusive club. One of the reasons of creating this club is helping subscribers to do their unique projects. And this video is uploaded for a subscriber who wanted to have 3 buttons in one ESP IoT dev board to run 3 different scenes in Home Assistant. I'll start from scratch. First of all, you have to install ESPHome add-on in your Home Assistant. Navigate to this web page, which you can find its link in description. While you are connected to the network your Home Assistant is connected, then click Add-on. This page opens. You should see your Home Assistant URL here. If it's not correct, click Edit to correct it, or you will see this page. Enter the URL of your Home Assistant. Then click Update and click Open Link. You will be directed to install ESPHome add-on in your Home Assistant. I have already done it. After installing ESPHome add-on, which you can open it by navigating to Settings in Home Assistant, selecting Add-ons. In this page, you will find your ESPHome add-on. By clicking on ESPHome, the add-on opens. Click Open Web UI. Before adding your ESP development board, navigate to Secrets. This page must be empty. If you see any lines, delete them and click Save. Then click Add New Device. Select Continue. Set a name for your ESP development board and enter the credentials of the Wi-Fi network that you want your device to connect to. Then click Next. Select the type of your device. Mine is ESP32. I select it. Configuration created. I click Install. How do you want to install ESP32? The name I set for my ESP development board .yaml file on your device. I connect my ESP development board to my Home Assistant, which is running on Raspberry Pi using USB cable, a cable that can transmit data. After that, I select Plug into the computer running ESPHome dashboard. Pick server port. You should see one server port. As I have 2 USB devices connected to my Raspberry Pi, I see 2 options. This one is related to ESP development. I select it. Wait till setting up ESP development board with ESPHome completes. Setting up our development board is done. I click Stop. Now click Edit to open its YAML file in order to edit it and program it. Below Captive Portal, paste these lines. You can find the lines in description. Let's go through the lines. Using these highlighted lines, I create a text sensor. By default, its state is released. And this is the name of my text sensor. You can change it. To add scene buttons, I use binary sensor component, gpio platform. Below binary sensor, we have to add gpio platforms. These highlighted lines defines scene button number 1. This one. You can change the name based on what you need. I set device class of scene button 1 to running. You can remove it if you do not want to specify any class. I use gpio 14 of my development board for scene button number 1. Using GPIOs, you have to use the ones that can be used both as input and output. Pay attention to this part. With these lines, I define scene button number 2, the second scene button. I use gpio 27 for it. And this is the last button, the third button. You can change the names, the highlighted section. I use gpio 26 for this button. I also use switch component, gpio platform, to connect LEDs to development board to indicate if a button is pressed. These highlighted lines defines the first LED, LED 1. For it, I use gpio number 16, set an ID for it. As I do not want this switch to be displayed on Home Assistant, I set internal to true. These lines define the second LED, and these lines define the last LED, LED 3. Change GPIOs based on your development board pins. You have to use the ones that can be used as both input and output. Going back to binary, this is scene button 1. Unpressed means when the button is pressed, then what happens? Set text sensor state to scene button 1 pressed. Then turn on LED 1, wait for 2 seconds. After that, set the state of text sensor to released and switch off LED 1. With these lines, scene button number 1, scene button 1 is momentary switch. Talking about scene button number 2, unpressed. Scene button 2 pressed will be published as a state of text sensor. And LED 2 is set to on. On release, the state of text sensor will be published as released, and after that, LED 2 is set to off. Using these lines, you can connect toggle switch to scene button number 2. Also, you can use momentary switch. But as far as the button is pressed or the button is set to on, the LED remains on. LED number 2. The last scene button number 3, has the same setting as scene button number 1. The only thing is that by pressing it, scene button 3 pressed will be published as a state of text sensor, and LED, the third LED will be set to on. After that, after 2 seconds, released will be published. Then immediately the third LED will be set to off. So paste the lines in the YAM file of your development board, change the names based on what you need, and change pin numbers based on your development board. Everything is ready and editing YAM file is done. Click install to install edited YAM file on your development board. As Development board is connected to network and Home Assistant wirelessly. I select wirelessly. Wait till installation completes. Installation is done. Click Stop. Navigate to Settings, Devices and Services. Click Add Integration. Search ESPHome. Select it. To find its IP address, I use Advanced IP Scanner. This is the IP of my development board. I insert it here. Then click Submit. Please enter the encryption key. You can find the encryption key by navigating to YAML file of your development board. This is the encryption key. Copy it. Paste it here. Submit. Set a location for your development board. Click Finish. This is my program development board. It has 4 devices: SIM button number 1, SIM button number 2, SIM button number 3. As you see, the state of SIM button number 1 is different from button 2 and button 3. That's because this line added to configuration of SIM button 1, device class running. If you do not want this, remove this line from YAML file of your development. Or if you want the state of SIM button 2 or SIM button 3 to be the same as SIM button 1, add these lines in this line in SIM button 2 section and SIM button 3. That's it. Let's test our development board. Each button needs 2 wires. This is SIM button number 1. I have connected one of its pins to gpio 14 of my development board and the other to ground. This is a monetary switch and this is a toggle switch. I have connected this toggle switch, or let's say I have used this toggle switch as SIM button 2. So I connected one of its pins to gpio 27 and the other to ground of development board. These are 3 LEDs I defined in switch section. By pressing SIM button number 1, the LED turns on for 2 seconds. Also, SIM button, as you see, shows SIM button 1 pressed. While SIM button is pressed, SIM button 1 state is running, and when it's released, its state changes to not running. Using SIM button 2, I toggle the switch. It is off. Now it's on. SIM button 2 is pressed. Says by SIM button sensor. The second LED is on. It remains on until I toggle the switch. The last thing before ending the video is that if you do not want to use toggle switches, as I used in SIM button 2, and you want to use momentary switches, remove unreleased section and add these lines with a little changes. Let's do it to show you how to do it. After the state of text sensor is changed to SIM button to pressed and LED is set to on, wait 2 seconds, then set the state of text sensor to released and switch off LED 2. That's it. If you have any question, do not hesitate to leave comments.